We present a novel approach for assisting users in 2D data exploration with an interactive lens. Our first key contribution is a novel user interface to jointly control lens and camera to support effective focus and context exploration. Our second contribution exploits and extends the concept of data annotations to provide guidance in discovering interesting areas while navigating with the lens, suggesting annotations and displaying them without introducing clutter. Real-world datasets typically have spatially attached information that appears at widely varying locations and scales. Exploration using lenses requires users to continuously switch between complex gesture combinations for selecting areas of interest by moving the camera and controlling, scaling, and positioning lenses to perform inspection. Maintaining an effective focus and context visualization is difficult. Switching user interface and mental modes increases cognitive load. We solve this problem by jointly adjusting camera and lens parameters in response to user actions. The focus and context condition is verified when the lens is large enough to show a good amount of data inside the focus area and is positioned so as to leave enough surrounding context to interpret the lens content and avoid getting lost in the data set. When the user acts on the lens to move it or scale it, we modify both the camera and the lens parameters to ensure that the condition remains satisfied. Scale and position of the lens and the camera are thus linked and can be easily controlled by simple dragging or zooming actions on the lens. When the user explicitly acts on camera, the lens must remain anchored to the object because it should maintain the selected focus area. If we leave the focus and context condition, the controller switches to standard mode by decoupling camera and lens parameter adjustment. If the focus and context condition is met again, the controller switches back to focus and context mode by automatically adjusting camera and lens parameters in response to user actions. Our joint controller allows users to better concentrate on their analysis tasks. Navigation is further assisted by exploiting data annotations. At authoring time, interesting areas are annotated and all annotations are stored in a database. In addition to traditional visual markups and information links, we associate each annotation with a lens configuration that highlights the region of interest. We can also see the amount of clutter if the annotations would be displayed together. During interaction, an assisting controller determines the next best lens in the database using a scoring system based on the current view and lens parameters and the navigation history. Here we see all the database annotations colored by score. Red represents higher relevance to the current lens. The assisting controller runs in the background while the user is moving the lens and identifies the best lens based on a scoring system detailed in the paper. When the controller finds it, it decides how to display the associated annotated area in a context-dependent way. If the selected lens is similar enough to the current lens, it is directly displayed. This happens, for instance, when hovering over an annotated area. When the user moves away from that area, the assisting controller restarts looking for other possible annotations. Since only one annotation at a time is displayed, clutter is avoided. Far or very different lenses are instead suggested to the user only if enough time has passed from the last shown annotation or if the user explicitly asks for suggestions. An animated glyph shows the annotation preview and the direction in which the annotation is located. The lens is enriched with simple interactive buttons to accept or reject the suggestions. If the user accepts the suggestion, the system smoothly interpolates the lens, its content and rendering parameters to the proposed annotation. Fully guided tours can be started at any time by telling the system to automatically accept all suggestions. With our approach, we support a self-paced exploration of annotated models, directing users towards interesting areas and displaying annotations one at a time without introducing clutter or confusion.